I come to some decision point and I look at all the possibilities and I see I could do one of five things. Those are my choices. One of five things. Now, I have free will to choose which one of those five. That's my decision space. That's what my free will does. It just makes a choice. I'm a piece of consciousness. What consciousness does is, it takes in the data, it processes, and it makes choices. So
But
now
it
I'm a
also
piece
is
of consciousness.
sorry to interrupt, but it is also constrained in some way to those choices. But it gets to choose from the choice. Like it's
Yeah. Okay,
you know what
I'll
I mean?
explain
Like,
that a little more. So it's constrained to those five choices. But let's say there's really 20 choices that I have. The other 15 I don't even know about. I can't comprehend. They're not in my reality. I got another 15 choices that I don't even know exist. Has nothing to do with my free will. My free will just means I get to choose which one of those five choices that I know about. I get to choose which one. That's what consciousness does. It makes choices. We all have decision space. Now, the more you grow up, the more you become love, the more you grow up, the bigger your decision space gets, the more you understand. The more you understand and comprehend the bigger picture, well, the more choices you have, because instead of seeing just those five, you see all 15, because your mind sees bigger pictures and you get a lot more data. So when you meet somebody and they start telling you about their sick mother, well, you right away can start healing. You can go see the mother, find out what's wrong with her, why it's wrong, how did that happen, and start working on her while he's talking to you. So you can do those things. It's all available to you to use your mind, in a productive way. So that's your free will choices. So now you have the choices to whether heal that mother or not heal that mother, or find out why she had this illness, or where it came from, or why she doesn't have it. If you take it away, is that going to damage her path, because that illness is part of the path she needs to be on? So you can find out all that information and feed that into your choice. So you get a lot more decision space as you grow up. So that's part of leveling up, as it will, is that you get a bigger picture. Your free will now has more choices that it can make. But free will doesn't mean you get whatever you want, or you can do whatever you want. It just means you can choose. And there's nothing magical about it. That's what consciousness does. It looks at the choices and chooses. And then once you've made your choice, you should learn from it. Was that a good choice? If it turns out to be a bad choice, why was it a bad choice? What was it that you missed? What other possibilities could you have done? And then you grow. So you grow from that choice. If you made a good choice, then you can pat yourself on the back and say, oh, great, that worked out really, really well. That was a good choice. And this is how people grow. Now, it doesn't really matter so much that you make mistakes and make bad choices. What matters is, do you learn from them? If you don't learn from them, then you get a punishment. You know what your punishment is if you don't learn? You get to do it again. You get to try again. That's your only punishment. There's no punishment other than you have to keep working at it until you learn that particular lesson. That may take you 1,000 lifetimes to get past that point, because you're just really boneheaded and just have trouble managing your anger or something like that. So that's you mentioned karma. That's really the foundation of karma. It isn't that, you shot somebody, so now next life somebody shoots you. That's way too simple. It's not that kind of a thing. Is that you shoot somebody, now you just de-evolved the quality of your consciousness. Now you're going to have to evolve it some just to get back to where you used to be. So, but you get to try again. And maybe next time you'll help that person rather than shoot them, and then you'll evolve.
why do we make de-evolving choices?
Well, we make it because we have free will and because we're not very evolved ourselves. We have a low quality of consciousness. We have a high entropy consciousness. We have to grow. And growing is hard to do because it's not a matter of what you do. It's a matter of what you are. So there's a big difference between acting kind and being kind. Well, to lower your entropy, you have to be kind. To raise the quality of your consciousness, you have to learn to be that way, not just act that way. You can act that way all day long, all your life, And that's civilizing, and everybody around you appreciates it, but you're not going to grow up. You're not going to level up. You're not going to increase the quality of your consciousness by acting. You have to be it. So that means that to grow up, you have to change who you are. You have to become somebody else that is kinder, gentler, more caring, more compassionate. And if you do that, then you're evolving. But if you're not very grown up, then you choose to take the club, hit the guy on the head, and take his food, because that seems to satisfy your need, and you tend to be self-centered, and your need is what's important to you, and other things are not important to you. So then you de-evolve. So this whole evolution thing is a slow process. But the good news is that it's an accelerating process. So human beings have been around, Homo sapiens been walking around for about 200,000 years. That's all. And in those 200,000 years, the ethic that dominated was control, power, force. If you've got power, you've got control, you can exert force, and that's what it takes. If you've got that, then, things will happen your way. You'll be fed and you'll have your needs met. So that was the ethic. And what did that do? That led to like a warlord mentality. The strong dominated the weak. 90% of the people did all the work, and the 10% of the people owned all of the resources. You get that kind of a thing when you have a fear-based society. So then you have to grow. Even within that society, you have to learn to be kinder. Not act kinder, but be kinder. You have to change who you are. Very slowly, we evolve. And we have been evolving. Look back 500 years ago. Just go back 500 years. And what was life like then? It was a whole lot rougher than mean. We think the streets are mean now. It was a whole lot rougher, and those streets were a whole lot meaner than they are now 500 years ago. And if you take it century by century, you'll see every century we progress a little. That next century is a little more civilized, a little more quality than the last one. But the good news is the more you grow, the easier it is to grow more. That's just a fundamental thing. The more you learn, the easier it is to learn more. It's when you don't know anything and you're just really, really, unknowledgeable. You're just really stupid. Then it's hard to learn anything because you don't know where to start. It's real hard. You start as a 4-year-old and you learn your ABCs. And that seems to be a really tough thing to learn. And it takes you a long time to remember that alphabet. And then you learn words, and then you learn sentences, and then you learn to read books. So you can accelerate. The more you know, it easier is to know more. So we're on this curve, and this curve, let me come across this way. Let's say time is going this way, and evolution's going this way. So this curve doesn't go up much. It goes up maybe just a little bit, but then, you see, it gets steeper until it goes fast. Well, we're right now down here on this curve where it starts to go around and move faster. It's been we've been 200,000 years wandering around here. So, 195,000 of those, we didn't make a whole lot of progress. But now here we are, and we're making more progress. And every century we make more progress. So it's starting to get steeper. And we're now at this place where it starts to turn and go up. So we have, for the first time in the human race, a possibility that we can take a big step forward in the quality of our consciousness. That's possible now. It's never been possible before. Before, we've always had, people who understood. It isn't that hard to understand. I got my understanding by going inward, by exploring consciousness, by growing that way. And I came to the same conclusions the Buddha did 2,500 years earlier. He said this world is illusion. It's Maya. It's illusionary. I say this world's a virtual reality. There really isn't any difference. They just use different words and language. Virtual reality wasn't a concept in Buddha's time. So we mean the same thing by that.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely love this, well then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.